All right, let's get right into it. Today we are tackling one of the biggest, most profound questions out there, one that really gets to the heart of faith and doubt. Is God just?
You know that feeling, right? You look around at the world, you see the news, you hear about tragedies, you see innocent people suffering, and it doesn't add up. The source material we're exploring today jumps right into that feeling. It gets that this isn't some minor doubt. It's a deep human reaction to seeing so much pain.
And that reaction, all that confusion and pain, it pretty much boils down to this one question. Now, asking this doesn't mean your faith is weak. Actually, according to the text we're looking at, it's a totally legitimate question. It comes from our built-in need for things to be fair. So let's really dig into the answer that our source presents.
To get to the bottom of this, the source lays out a kind of roadmap for us. It's built on four big ideas. First, we'll look at life as a test. Then we'll dive into the role of our own free will. After that, we'll talk about the difference between our limited human viewpoint and a much bigger picture. And finally, we'll explore the promise of an ultimate day of justice.
Okay, first up is an idea that really asks us to shift our perspective in a big way. This whole concept of seeing life as a test. So, here's the deal. The source argues that we get into trouble when we expect this world to be a perfect paradise. It's just not designed to be that. Instead, we should think of it more like a temporary station, a testing ground. From this point of view, the tough stuff, like poverty or illness, isn't just random cruel punishment. It's actually part of a test of our character, our compassion, our patience. And think about it. If every good thing you did was instantly rewarded with cash, and every bad thing got you zapped by lightning, the test would be totally pointless, right? Our choices wouldn't come from a real place. They'd just be about avoiding the zap.
That idea of making real choices leads us directly to our second key concept. And this one shifts the spotlight away from God's actions and puts it squarely on our own: free will.
Our source calls free will a profound and weighty gift. I love that phrasing because it captures both sides of it. It's an incredible gift, the power to choose our own path, but it's also heavy. It comes with a ton of responsibility. And this is a really critical point in the argument. So much of the suffering in the world, war, oppression, greed, the source says that's not on God, that's on us. It's the direct result of humans taking that beautiful, weighty gift of free will and, well, misusing it.
So then you have to ask, well, why doesn't God just step in and stop it? According to this perspective, to interfere with every single unjust act the second it happens would mean taking away our free will. We'd just be robots, programmed to do the right thing. And if that happened, the whole test of life would be over.
Okay, this next part introduces what I think is the most powerful metaphor in this whole discussion. It's all about perspective and the massive, massive difference between what we see versus what an all-knowing divine wisdom sees. I really love this analogy. Just imagine you're at a museum and you walk up to a gigantic painting, but you put your nose right up against the canvas. What do you see? Probably just one dark, messy-looking blob of paint. That's us. That's our limited human view of things.
And this is where it all starts to make sense. From our up-close view, a personal tragedy or a great injustice looks exactly like that dark splotch of paint. It seems ugly, harsh, and completely meaningless. But the argument is that if we could just step back, way back, and see the entire canvas, we might realize that dark spot was absolutely essential. It provides the contrast, the shadow that makes the rest of the masterpiece so beautiful.
So the takeaway here is that we're trying to judge the entire painting based on one tiny piece of it. We just don't have all the information. A terrible hardship might be the very thing that forges incredible strength in someone. Or it might be a part of a bigger plan of good that we just can't possibly understand from where we're standing right now.
Now this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, and it asks us to zoom out even further, beyond this world entirely. It argues that you can't really judge fairness if you only look at our short time here on Earth.
I mean, let's be real. If this life is all there is, then yeah, justice often seems like a total joke. Bad people get away with terrible things, and good people suffer for no reason. The source says that's because we're only seeing Act 1. For justice to be truly absolute, there has to be a final act, a final station where every single account is settled.
This table really lays out that promise perfectly. You see the concerns we have in this life on the left. The innocent suffer? Well, the promise is that all that pain will be compensated, and then some. The powerful, who always seem to escape justice, in the end, no one escapes. And all those little actions, good and bad, that seem to just disappear into the past. Nope, every single one is recorded and will be weighed with perfect precision.
And the level of detail described here is just staggering. We're not talking about just getting the big things right. The claim is that the accounting is so precise that absolutely nothing gets missed, not even something as tiny and insignificant as an atom's weight.
So, we've walked through the 4 pillars of this argument: life as a test, the role of our own free will, our limited perspective, and the promise of a final judgment. Now, with all of that on the table, let's go back to where we started.
According to the source material, the answer is a clear and absolute yes. But, and this is a big but, it's a justice that isn't measured by our day-to-day comfort. It's a much bigger, more complex picture of justice. It's one that's woven into the very fabric of life's trials, that deeply respects our freedom to choose, and that is ultimately guaranteed by the certainty of a life to come where all things are made right.
And this is really the ultimate point. This isn't just supposed to be an intellectual puzzle to solve. According to the source, believing in this bigger, ultimate form of justice is what can give a person a deep sense of peace, even when the world around them feels completely chaotic and unfair.
And that brings us to our final thought, something for you to carry with you. Because after all the logic and all the arguments, it really comes down to a matter of trust. So we'll leave you with this to think about. In your own life, what does it truly mean to trust in a justice that you can't yet fully see?